VocalEye Almost Live Zoom. Sexual Misconduct of the Middle Classes. Hosted by Amy Amantea, with special guest Michael Shamata.
So I want to do an official welcome to you all to the space. This is the VocalEye Almost Live event. My name is Amy Amantea. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator for VocalEye. I'm the host for these Almost Live events, and I'm a member of the blind community. And it always sort of tickles my soul a little bit to say that out loud, because I'm really proud of our community, and I really value all of you in this space and the memories that we make, and just, you know, the ability to share community with you all. So thank you for that. I also want to extend a big thank you to those who've made donations and who have supported VocalEye, both through monetary donations, and there's always a link in the chat if you feel like you have the capacity, but also some folks have written some really lovely testimonials and some really lovely letters about their experience with VocalEye programming. And that is super, super helpful for us to be able to share with funders the things that we're offering and what the feedback is from the space, from you all attending in the space. So please keep those letters coming. And personally, I love hearing all your thoughts, so keep them coming. If you happen to be watching this event on our YouTube channel, I hope that you will like it and subscribe. Okay, I think what we'll do now is we'll turn to Ingrid and invite Ingrid into the space to do our land acknowledgement. So Ingrid, it's all yours, my friend.
Thank you, Amy. Well, as you heard, my name is Ingrid, and I go by she, her pronouns. I'm the daughter and granddaughter of settlers from Scotland and Austria, and I grew up on Vancouver Island in the lands of the Snawawas people between Parksville and Nanaimo. Where I'm now in Vancouver, I'm on the slopes above False Creek, where the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people, 3 nations, have shared, lived on, and cared for the lands and waters for thousands of years. They hold ceremony and celebrations here still, and singing and dancing are some of the ways that they celebrate the connection to the land. I acknowledge the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people as artists, not only as stewards of the land. They're musicians and dancers, carvers and painters, and at the heart of Indigenous culture are stories. So it will become as no surprise that there are Indigenous playwrights in Canada, many Indigenous playwrights in Canada, who are well produced and awarded. 3 notable early Indigenous playwrights include George Riga from the Okanagan, Drew Hayden Taylor, and Thompson Highway, who are both from back east. They're known for, respectively, The Ecstasy of Rita Cho, Only Drunks and Children Tell the Truth, and The Res Sisters, which have all been mounted here in Vancouver, maybe where you live too. And we're also starting to present plays now that the pandemic has opened theaters up again by young and emerging playwrights, such as Taryn Kootenaihu, whose play White Noise is currently at the Fire Hall Arts Center. And I was delighted to describe a little while ago the Belfry's recent production of Little Red Warrior and His Lawyer by Kevin Loring. Although he's hardly emerging, he won the Governor General's Award for Drama with his very first play. More and more colonial theaters are commissioning plays from Indigenous artists on whose lands they are located. Kim Senclip Harvey is one such artist who defines theater as a form of ceremony, and she actually enters into treaties with the theaters who engage her and her work. With this perspective in mind, I think more and more about art and theater as ceremony. I know I have theater friends who are lapsed Catholics, who say that theater has taken the place of organized religion in their lives. And it relates not just to the sacred, not to religious icons, but real blood and guts storytelling. Our weekly VocalEye presentations also have an active aspect of ceremony about them, which I appreciate, these weekly meetings. When Almost Live events roll around, I get to reflect on these matters and share them with you. Thank you very much for this opportunity to do so. And I'm looking forward to another show from the Belfry.
Awesome. Thank you, Ingrid. Very much appreciate you offering the land acknowledgements. Awesome. Okay. Well, friends, it's Saturday, April the 16th, 2022. And today we're proud to offer you our Almost Live event number 81, entitled Sexual Misconduct of the Middle Classes. And so we're going to have a pre-show guest and a post-show guest. So our pre-show guest will be somebody who is familiar to you, and our post-show guest will be joining us after the 80-minute production, Michael Shamata, and he's the artistic director at the Belfry Theatre. So we'll get to talk to him afterwards and find out some insider stuff about the play. But before we watch the play together, Eileen Barrett, come on in, my friend. Are you in a square? Have I got Eileen?
I'm in a square.
You're in a square. Awesome.
I'm in a square. Happy to share a square with you, Amy.
We just spent our pre-show social talking about TV game shows, and now I feel like I'm in Hollywood squares. Since squares, and since Eileen is quite famous. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. So Eileen's my Hollywood square. Eileen, what is so you had the privilege of describing this particular play that we're gonna watch.
I did.
And I know that you had come prepared to share some interesting stuff about the playwright,
right,
which could be cool to kind of set up what it is we're about to experience.
Okay.
So maybe set us up a little bit with.
Okay, so Hannah Moscovich, who is the playwright of this play and so many other plays in the new Canadian canon, she's a very prolific playwright. She's gone from wonderkind quite a few years ago to, completely established playwright. She has been one Toronto critic called her irritatingly talented, which I think, there can be no higher praise in the Canadian media. She did win the 2021 Governor General's Award for English Language Drama for this play that we're about to hear this afternoon, Sexual Misconduct of the Middle Classes, amongst the many other plethora of awards that she has won. She's based in Toronto and Halifax, and she's the writer in residence at Tarragon Theatre, which is a very esteemed theatre in Toronto. She's often called upon to create plays. She's quite sought after to create plays for anywhere from graduating BFA programs, Bachelor in Fine Arts programs, like at the University of Alberta, right up to commissioning plays for being asked to write plays for the Shaw Festival or Stratford Festival. And one of the, in case any of you have had the opportunity to read this book that's part of the Canadian canon called Fall on Your Knees, which is written by Anne Marie MacDonald, she's currently translating that to be done at the festival season in a couple of years. So yes. So there's nothing this woman can't do. But anyway, so the play that we're about to see this afternoon is her second to most recent. She wrote another play after this one, but this is definitely very, very current. I was mentioning to Amy, another of her plays was on here in Vancouver a couple of weeks ago, a play called Bunny that she wrote about 5 years ago. And it's very interesting when I always think when you get to know a playwright's work a little bit, because there is a whole scene in that play that is the exact same dialogue as some that we will hear in the play this afternoon. So I think Hannah Moscovich is she's got some stuff that she's mulling over and working out. She often writes plays that put people in situations that are untenable, that force them to act in a way that we are left wondering, are they a good person or are they a bad person? But are they just a person that's in an impossible situation and act accordingly? So really interesting playwright.
And is that, that theme something that we're going to experience this afternoon to some extent?
I would say so. We have, it's a 2-actor play.
Mm-hmm.
One in this instance, one male identifying and one female identifying, which for the construct of this play is kind of important for the power dynamic that's involved. And I think certainly it took me, I spent a lot of time mulling this over afterwards, going, what do I feel about the protagonist in this play, the quote unquote central character, and this is a person we get to share a lot of time with, and how do I feel about that person, and how do I feel about the other person and the choices they make? So really interesting. So she never lets you off the hook easily with, oh, this is the good person or this is the bad person.
That's quite interesting. And I know that Michael will be able to share some of his thoughts afterwards. But this idea that like humans are multifaceted.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have things that are good, and we all have things that are bad, and some of us have things that are deal breakers.
Mm-hmm.
And where is that line, right? Because it's often gray and maybe swirly. Maybe it's not straight cut, but kind of a meandering line, and maybe different for each individual. So I think there's going to be a lot of things that folks come away with this in terms of like what you said is questions. And ways of contemplating things, and even ways of like plays like this kind of make me think about situations that I've been in, and rethinking what might have been appropriate, what might not have been appropriate, all of those pieces. Which I think again is like what good art pushes us to talk about.
Absolutely, Amy. Yeah. The conversation I think should go on after you leave the theater.
Oh. Well, I mean, without further ado, I think maybe we'll just toss a content warning out there for folks. And again, because we're in an online platform, if you feel you need to disengage at any time, please know that you have the comfort to do that in your own private spaces. But I think without further ado, I don't know, should we take a watch of this, Eileen?
Sounds like a wonderful idea.
All right. So this is Sexual Misconduct of the Middle Classes. And Steph, when you're ready, play the video.
Due to copyright restrictions, this feature presentation has not been recorded. Please check below for more information, including links to the material if it is hosted elsewhere.
Michael, I mean, you were the director of this piece. Not only are you the artistic director of the Belfry, but you're the director of this particular piece.
Yes.
And I'm wondering about your relationship with Hannah working on this piece. If you were ever able to have oftentimes I think what I understand is that directors may not have access to the playwrights, but did you have access to Hannah as the playwright?
Yes.
To have dialogue with her about this script?
Yes, I know Hannah quite well. We a couple of years ago we did a production of a play of hers that we commissioned her to do a new version of a play called The Children's Republic, and we did a number of workshops with Hannah, and then she was around for the rehearsals as well. And I've known her for a number of years before that. However, she has included at the back of the script a very a fairly detailed outline of what she wants and doesn't want from productions, and she's very clear that that there's only one. Well, I don't know. Maybe we should let people weigh in first before I sort of say what Hannah had to say.
Well, I mean, I guess my question to folks that are in the space too is about. I mean, there's a lot of. I'm trying to pick my words very carefully here. There's a lot of maybe triggering subject matter. There's a lot of like what some people might call gray area around privilege, around power dynamics, around consent, and all of those pieces I think play like they're part of the recipe of this piece for sure. So friends, if you have thoughts or comments about, I mean, one of the things I think is there a bad guy here or a good guy here? No, like remove the gender, bad person, good person. Are they bad people? Are they just, victims of circumstance? There's all sorts of things at play here. So I'm inviting folks, if you have questions of Michael or about the play, thoughts about this kind of subject matter that drives us to have these conversations. I'll keep my my one partial good peeper on my participants list for the raise the hand. And, yeah, I know sometimes I miss them, Michael. It's just that
Okay.
it happens in the blind world. But while we're waiting for folks to maybe jump in with questions, maybe you want to continue on that thought that you were starting to about this connection with Hannah, because I guess I think in my mind, writers write what they know, and this is an experience that many females have found themselves in. And I wonder if Hannah had shared with you anything about whether this was something that she had experienced, or something that someone she knew had experienced, or something she had seen, amongst her peers that was, or whether it just really organically came from the conversation that was sparked when Me Too, happened.
I mean, certainly it was a response to Me Too for sure. She does have a disclaimer in the script that says this is a work of fiction, and any appearance of anyone alive or real is coincidental. However, I think it's pretty clear, just from the very fact that Annie has written this play about this relationship, and that she's written it from his point of view, and that's the play that we've just watched. I don't think there's any question that Hannah's writing from experience, whether it's exactly like this or not, but definitely that this is something that she knows.
Right. Again, the teacher-student dynamic is one that is a consistent theme in movies and television. Like it's not something that is unfamiliar to us. And again, you go into these things with these questions about, is it appropriate? Isn't it appropriate? When would it be appropriate? When, like all of these questions, and even things in your own life that you may think about your own experiences. And after watching a piece like this, I think to myself, oh, I've been in something similar like that. And you re-examine again as part of the conversation. So you're the director of this piece, Michael. And for you, what was that like? I mean, considering the subject matter, even considering the own, the power dynamic that happens in the theater world, and how careful one has to be around that.
Yes. First of all, I just want to say that Hannah's writing, just the way that she puts the words on the page, what sounds like a sentence doesn't go right across the page. She's divided it into like 3 words, 2 words, 4 words. Like it's an incredible map for the director and the actors. It's very, very helpful. I mean, my closest connection was the first time I fell in love when I was quite young, and it wasn't a balanced relationship. But I understand. For me, my way in was understanding Annie's the seductive quality of this famous writer, her teacher, someone that she looked up to, someone that she admired. As she says in the bar, the second last scene, that he was nice to her and he was famous, and it was appealing to her, and she went into it with it open and able to be hurt. And what I do love is that Hannah, in writing it from John's point of view, having John be the person that's narrating it, as bizarre as that seems when you first kind of go, what is going on here? Why are we hearing all this from his point of view? But as Annie says in that final scene, I wanted to figure it out. She wanted to understand how this could happen, what could possibly have been going through this. I mean, I'll weigh in and say I don't think that John's a bad person, and we certainly know he's going through things. However, he is guilty of, in my opinion, he's guilty of carelessness and of not taking care of Annie, and as a result, really abusing her. And certainly, with the age difference, and as I say, her kind of open-heartedness and her thrill at being in this relationship with him. Yeah, that Hannah is trying to work out how could he let this happen? What could possibly have been going through his mind, step by step by step, scene by scene, that he thought this was okay, or convinced himself that it was okay. I don't know if I've answered your question at all.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure that the question has any answers, right? Like that's the idea of this, for me, this idea of discussion too, because a part of me wonders about, for John, in his, I guess his progression in his career, has this happened before? Did it happen again? Like, did he learn anything from this particular instance where he, check that, I'll never do that again? I mean, he openly admits that he's been in relationships while he was married to other women, so his moral compass may be slightly off, but it does make me think about I guess where we make room for forgiveness and or self-reflection around from both sides, right? Because Annie doesn't seem to write him as an air quotes bad guy either. No.
It really is. I mean, I think if he was a bad guy, she wouldn't have written the play. That she would have had her answer. I think the conundrum that Hannah is dealing with is, how does a good, an essentially good person, who, as he tells us, and we have to believe him, that he's never been interested in teenage girls, and he's been surrounded by them on the university campus for years.
Right.
And I did actually check that with Hannah to make sure that he was not lying to us, and that when she says, "But I'm not the only one," and he says no, meaning no, that's not true.
Right.
That in fact that was what she intended, that he had not had a relationship with a student before. So how could that have happened is really her question. How could a good person, an essentially good person, with definitely with many flaws, but how could he have allowed this to happen and to leave her in a state of trauma, essentially? I mean, when we see her, certainly when we see her in the second last scene, and still when we see her, that's why she had to write the play, was to somehow try to figure out how could he have been so careless and so ultimately harmful.
Yeah. I do notice we have a hand from Louise. So Louise, why don't you unmute yourself?
Oh, hi.
Oh, we gotcha.
Okay, I got it. Okay. The one thing I saw was his confusion, even when he started it. Even at the end, he was still confused on that part of his relationship with her. That's what I felt like. He really didn't understand. He knew he did it, but he had morals of what he was, what he thought was right and wrong. And I think how he even tried to hide what they were doing showed his morals and himself and the guilt he was feeling of being with her. Though he wanted to be with her, he was confused. He was, what's the word I'm looking for? He was lost in his own world. And really, when his wife came back and said she was pregnant in that situation, and he had to tell her, like, of course, I think he was relieved but saddened. And I think he'll always love her in his own way. I saw in this, when he went to Montreal, I thought to me, though he knew he morally couldn't get involved with her, I think he knew he had to put closure for himself. I don't know what he was like in those years that he have other relationships. We don't know. But what I'm saying is, I feel that he let go of part of himself. When he let go of her, he let go of part of himself. He was partly dead. He just lived life. Yes, he had a family, but was it fulfilling to his full needs? You know, but he didn't want to go out and do anything else wrong. Maybe
Yes.
I'm not making sense, but
You are.
what it comes back to is he was in this dilemma of two worlds.
Mhm.
And the dilemma for him was what he knew was right and what he wanted was wrong, but he couldn't help what he wanted. And
Yes.
he felt guilty about that.
Yes, I think you're very perceptive. I think that speech he has after the first time they kiss and she stays the night, and he's kind of going, what am I doing? This is ridiculous. This is not who I am. I've lived my life like, I've messed up all my marriages, but nonetheless, I've lived a kind of straight-laced life. And
But
how
when
could
he
I
went
possibly be? Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, but look at when he went to the hotel room. He just picked a place. He didn't care where it was. He just didn't want to get. And then when he said, and they were in the car doing it, and he goes, the thoughts he had, like, oh my God, now we're more public than ever.
Yeah.
It was like he didn't want to get caught because he knew he was doing wrong, but he wanted her. And it was like there was a love. There was
It's
a
almost
very
like a self-sabotage thing too, in a way.
yeah.
Mhm.
He loved. He knew what was wrong, but I think there is relationships out there that are relationships where there's an older person and a younger person. And I think they're not wrong if they're true love, if they're really that relationship of true commitment. But that's not what he, I don't know what it would have done if his wife hadn't become pregnant, from that last time. We
Yes.
never would have, what would he become? Where would he have gone? What road would he taken?
Mhm.
That was the part I was like, when he went to Montreal, like, well, what is he going to do with this? Where is he going with this? And I saw still part of his love and worry for her.
Yeah, and I think part of the larger discussion truly is because there's this power dynamic here, right? So again, you've got not just the age difference, because I know I've had this conversation with many folk in many a space, right, where they say, well, they're both of age, they're both consenting adults, end of story, right? They get to do whatever they want to do. But then when you look at the fact that like you said, Michael, he's in a position of authority, and it's really easy to take advantage of folks, whether you know in your heart or your mind that you're doing that, or can admit to yourself that you're doing that. It is something that we've become more aware of in these work environments. So when you see folks like the police chief, who and the police officer who is accusing him of abuse because of the power dynamic and the pressures that all of the things that go into that. So there's many branches of this discussion that go in many different ways. I wonder if you think, Michael, for Hannah and even Annie, like the character Annie, in writing this story, at the end you said she tells us, I feel better now. But do you think she actually reaches a place of healing after going through this?
No, not necessarily. I think she reaches a place of understanding, but I think she's still left with the scars and the wounds of what happened. I don't think writing the play heals her, but I think it does provide some. As she says in the final scene, I'm not sure if it stopped before that or not, but she says, I wanted to figure out what happened. And in the bar scene just before that, she says, I'm trying to figure out how, I'm trying to figure out why, like, why did you do this and then kind of leave me holding the bag?
Yeah. This is I suppose a question of humanity, but do you think, I don't know, is there a reason, Michael? Is there ever, can you come up with why he does this?
He doesn't know. I mean, that's what that whole lawnmower scene is him going, I have never been interested in teenage girls, except when I was a teenage boy. Okay,
Right.
when I was a teenage boy, yes, I was, but I was a teenage boy, they were teenage girls. I have never, and I've been surrounded by teenage girls for the past, 15, 20 years at the university. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't know why. It's that moment right at the very beginning of the play when he says this image appeared, and then there she is, and there's kind of this mystique around her for him, which dissipates towards the end. I think his attraction, not necessarily his love, but his perception of her. But no, I don't think he understands it.
He intellectually knows. Sharon, I see you have a hand. I'll come call on you in a second. He intellectually knows that as a teacher, he's not supposed to date a student. He intellectually knows that.
He also intellectually knows that it's wrong on all sorts of levels. I mean, he knows that, and he says that, and I have to stop this. And she comes in, and he says, we can't do this anymore. Mm-hmm. And that lasts about 4 minutes.
I wonder about I like that particular scene. Oh gosh, we get into such scary these conversations, these moments of vulnerability when we talk about this, because the way that's written, it kind of makes me feel like they're blaming Annie. Well, she just kept coming back, and so if she's going to keep coming back, I'm going to say, okay, I'm here, and I but there's enough of that on both sides that I think it kind of balances to allow us to have these kinds of discussions. Sharon, why don't you go ahead and jump on in? I'm sure you have some things to say about this. Give Sharon a moment. There you are.
I was talking away, but you need to unmute first. Anyway, I was wondering if Hannah spoke to you about her influences, because I was thinking of David Mamet, and I think I was specifically thinking of, I think it's Oleana, if that's the name of the play. Yeah.
That's right.
So did she talk to you about that?
No, we never talked about her being influenced by another play. I really think that this is Hannah exercising her own, doing exactly what Annie's doing and trying to figure out, and Hannah's older than Annie, but not by a lot. But I think, I do think, although she has never said it, that this is a personal story for her, and I think more than taking off from Mamet's play, brilliant as it is, I really do think this is Hannah's journey, to doing exactly what Annie does, which is to try to make sense of what was going on in John's head. The scenes, presumably the scenes are the scenes that Annie, and though that's what Annie knows. Mm-hmm. And then she's trying to fill in the rest with John's monologues.
Well, yeah, of course, that makes total sense, because she's telling it from his perspective, but she has to figure out what that perspective is. She's not inside his head, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think Annie, the character, decides, when she hands John the script at the end, she says, I changed the decades, I changed the names, they won't ever know it's you, basically. Why do you think she makes that choice?
I don't think she wants. There's no revenge in it, in writing the play, and there's no. I don't think she's out to hurt him. I think she's really is out to figure it out, and that's the purpose of writing the play, was to get it out of her system and try to make some kind of sense of it. But I don't think either of them, certainly not John and Annie. Well, I mean, the play is written there's a great deal of empathy in it. She could easily paint him as a villain, He's certainly the culpable half of the pair, but she's, she goes to great lengths to try to understand, his wife having just left and it being the third marriage, and he'd gone through this depression and now he was just coming out of it, and there's a lot of understanding in the play that comes from Annie/Hannah.
Talk to me about the casting choices in
Yeah.
this particular piece. And in talking to Eileen when she was reading the script and writing the descriptive notes and all those kinds of things, I learned some things about the way the script was written too, in terms of like an offering to actors and directors as you can add this or not add that. So the question is kind of twofold. So let's start with the casting choices, because I think they're super relevant to this content. So how were those decisions made? Were they part of the script and how Hannah wanted them to be cast this way, or?
No, I mean, she just indicates that John is mid-40s and that Annie's 19 at the beginning of the play. Well, Vince, who played John, I've worked with. This is either our 7th or our 8th show together. And with a piece like this, where so much of the weight is on his shoulders, to work with an actor that I'm familiar with, and that we have a shorthand, and I think he's quite a remarkable actor. That seemed perfect, and that was quick. And then Vince and I together made a list of actresses that we wanted to bring in to read with him. Just, we wanted to see if there was chemistry there, as well as just seeing whether the role kind of sat well with them. And funnily enough, Vince, when I read out we talked and stuff, and then I'd reached out to a lot of the actresses, and I called Vince one day and said, okay, here's the list of the actresses we're going to see in Vancouver. And I think we saw 8 or 9, I guess, or 9 or 10 maybe. And I said Sarah's name, the actress that you saw this afternoon. And Vince said, well, where'd that name come from? I said, well, you gave it to me. He said, yeah, I gave it to you. He said, but I said that she was too old for us. Anyway, so I didn't know Sarah at all. She came in, she totally convinced me that she was 19. And she was just, she took direction really well. Like, we worked on their first meeting, and we worked on that very difficult scene near the end in the bar in Montreal. And she was great. I mean, she was so flexible, so playful, like in an actor kind of way, like ready to play. And she and Vince just seemed to have and they had met, but they'd never worked together and didn't really know each other very well. But there was a chemistry there immediately, and this may seem trivial, but she just seemed like a really good person, and she seemed like a person that it would be good to be in a room with her for 4 weeks working on this. Good and fun, which is actually really important. Being a good person is sometimes even trumps talent. There might be someone who's a bit more talented, but they're unpleasant, and it actually affects the work. So, and this is actually, shockingly, because Sarah works mainly in film and television, this is her professional stage debut.
Oh.
And she's fantastic. And also, I should just say, the first day that, we spent 3 or 4 days just around the table, all of us working through the script and, making sure we were all on the same page, and that we kind of knew what was happening and what Hannah was after. But the first day that we were going to work on Vince's first speech, and I said to Sarah, you can come in later if you want to. And she said, oh no, I'm going to be there all the time. And she was there from 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock, 6 days a week. while Vince and I waded through all of this. But and in retrospect, she was absolutely right. It was the right thing to do, because it just really bonded us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so important, especially when you're in a two-hander like this one.
Yeah.
To make sure that there's safety amongst the players.
Yes.
And of course, we're dealing with subject matter that can feel unsafe at many times. So you have to be able to protect the actors.
Yes.
As well
yes.
as you go through this. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, of course, because it's Annie's play,
mm-hmm.
In a way, and it actually made a great deal of sense that Sarah be there.
Yes.
All the time, really.
Yeah. Doesn't seem trivial to me at all, Michael. So thank you for sharing that. And let's maybe just recircle this idea of the way Hannah had written the script, in that there were offerings, it sounds like.
There's a bunch of things. Yeah. So there are sections of the play, and I imagine this is only the second production in Canada. So the premiere production happened in Toronto at the Tarragon Theatre, and I imagine that these what Hannah has done is there's maybe 10 places where she's put double brackets around a section, or maybe even 2 lines, and she's indicated at the beginning of the script that where those brackets appear, it's up to us. It's up to the director and the actors on each production to decide whether they want to include that section of the material or not. In almost all cases we did. There was one big speech after the bandaging scene.
Mm-hmm.
A big speech about him monitoring a writing workshop, and it didn't really feel like it added anything to the story. That's the only big chunk that we took out, and I think pretty much all the other double brackets we ended up keeping. But so that's a very unusual thing to have that that offer from the playwright. Here's some material that, if you want to get rid of it, you can, and if you want to keep it, you can. And the other thing is, just as I said, the way that she lays the lines out, and it's in the scenes that's they're remarkable. I mean, they're just, like I say, it's what would ordinarily be a sentence that runs across the page and has a period at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
These are like where's one?
Sounds like she's divided them by thoughts almost, or
it's absolutely. John says, "Did you want to discuss?" And then on the next line, the class ? Do you feel you're able to keep up with the material? It's just, absolutely. It's a place to have just a moment of thought, and it was really fantastic. It really, really helped and saved time, and it was great, really great.
Is this something that Hannah has done in some of the other plays?
I haven't noticed it in the other scripts. We did a Zoom reading of East of Berlin, September 2020, I guess, during the pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic. And no, I was not struck by that at all in that script. And Children's Republic, I don't believe she didn't do that either. No, it really stands out in this. And I'm not sure whether that's just a new style or whether it's just a style that felt right. For this, it might have been a way of differentiating the scenes from the speeches, which are written, right to the edge of the to the tab lines,
right,
margin lines. But yeah, it's like a map. It really is like a road map.
I think that's super interesting, and either Hannah has got something figured out in terms of how she wants to convey the information. Because as a playwright, oftentimes you hand your script over to the director and they make choices, and the actors make choices, and then it can be a very different play sometimes than how you wrote it. Depending on some of the choices that are made. And so I think I love this idea of this roadmap, which is, it sounds to me like she may have had some very specific things that she wanted to make sure solidified. and then was also willing to give artistic choice over to the team around other pieces. And I wonder if you think that there would be a huge impact on the piece itself if, for example, you had made many more changes to the script where she had offered you to make changes. How do you think that would have impacted the outcome of the story, if at all?
I think the ones that we decided to keep in, we did so because they seemed to clarify, they seemed to make it clearer. In fact, actually, there was the one of the offers, the first one I think was the first speech with the lawnmower, when he talks about what's the first one? Anyway, I can't imagine. Oh, it's just saying that he'd the whole way of university life was sex between teenagers, and all talking about the hickeys and not being able to focus when they come in to talk to him about their grades and things like that. But it ends with him saying, and he'd always stood outside of it all, but now somehow, and for those two lines, it was worth having the speech is great, and I wouldn't have cut it, but those two lines at the end I felt were really, really essential to just get that, to get him launched in the what is going on with me right now question.
Right.
I feel like I'm talking a lot. Am I talking too much?
No, you know what? I mean, this is great because this, for me, this is what good theater, I suppose even bad theater, but I'm going to just say good art, good theater provokes conversation.
Yeah.
And I like to go to pieces where I walk away and I'm still questioning, I'm still thinking, I'm still wondering, I'm, either confused or seeking clarity or being reminded of moments in my own life. And I that kind of art really resonates with me. And I think, and I hope resonates with the masses of people that go to see things like this because they want to be involved in these conversations or learn something new that they didn't know, the minute before they walked in.
Yes.
Right. Because I'm sure there are lots of folks that come to subject matter like this with absolutely no entry point, right? They've never been in a space to have these discussions. They may even be hearing about Me Too for the first time. Who knows?
Right.
So I think those are all really, really impactful things. So I thank you, Michael, for joining us in the space and for sharing your thoughts around this. It's really, I'll take this away and continue talking about it with my family because that's just what we do in my house. But before I officially let you turn off your camera for the afternoon, we have a prize draw to get to.
Oh, nice.
And I'm hoping that you'll participate in the prize draw. It's pretty simple. We'll bring Sarah into the space, and Sarah's got a list of the names of folks that are still on the call with us that are eligible for the draw. She's going to rifle them around, and whenever you want her to pull that name, you just shout out a keyword. It can be whatever you want. I'm going to leave that to you to decide.
Okay. All right. Annie.
It's a great word.
Okay, great. So our winner today is Smitha. Not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right, but Smitha is still on the call with us.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations. You've won a raffle prize. We'll make sure that congratulations. Were we pronouncing your name right?
You did say my name correctly. It is Smitha. So it's Smith with an A. Yeah. So
awesome. So what we'll do, Smitha, is we will connect with you offline to make sure that we get you a prize that is relevant to your geographical area. So stay tuned for an email from VocalEye and you can claim your prize.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. And thank you, Michael, so much for joining us, the director of this piece, the artistic director from the Belfry Theater. We'll be seeing y'all in June for another production. Do you want to just tease us with that before you disappear?
Yes, it's a world premiere. It's a new play that we've been workshopping for a couple of years. It's a play about two couples that their marriages break up, and it's what happens after that. I call it a fairy tale for adults.
Love it. Well, we look forward to seeing you back here again in June for that one.
Great. I think that'll be the 5th, right? I think
the 5th. Yeah, it's a Sunday, June the 5th. Same bat time, same bat channel, 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. Thank you, Michael,
Absolutely.
so much for
Thanks
joining
so
us
much.
in space, and we'll see you again in June.
Thank you, and compliment Eileen for me.
I definitely will do that.
VocalEye, vocaleye.ca. Special thanks to our funders, the Canada Council for the Arts, the British Columbia Arts Council, the Province of British Columbia, and the City of Vancouver.